It's good to have you join us here again on another fresh episode of Just Nigeria, brought to you by the BBC and Channels Television. And here we track stories online in the news and dissect them. I am Wali Fakile. Now to our top story. As a Nigerian man, you can't cry, you can't break down, you can't laugh openly, you must be emotionally available, yet not be emotional. These sentiments and more are often echoed by a society that inherently treats men like robots. In this story, Just Nigeria's Mercy Franks peeps into the world of Nigerian men, the whirlwind of emotional stress they bottle up, and gets experts to weigh in.
With broad shoulders, bulging muscles, they stand as providers, pillars of their families. Yet, behind closed doors, many battle unknown demons.
It may be the life of the party, it may be the best friend to everybody in the office. That man may be dealing with some behind the scene.
I became this quiet person. Everybody thought I was growing, not knowing that I was actually bottling things up.
Statistically, men help-seeking behavior is very poor. So when it comes to mental health issues too, men rarely seek help.
Today, we pull back the curtain on their silent struggles. A 2023 World Health Organization fact sheet indicates that 5% of adults worldwide live with depression, and 1 in 5 men will face it at some point. The WHO also shows that 6 of the world's top 10 suicide hotspots are in Africa. Among Nigeria's over 200 million populace, psychiatrists say about 50 million are battling one mental disorder or the other. It's like in a minibus with 20 seats, for instance. 5 passengers are fighting unseen battles mentally. Yet, when it comes to men, solid data is almost impossible to find.
We don't have effective statistics for Nigeria specifically, to the best of my knowledge.
So one of the things that the Mental Health Act did not do is it did not decriminalize attempted suicide. The reason that this key is because when we want to track progress and get data, World Health Organization information says that doctors, medical practitioners do not want to track and collect this information if it is criminalized, because they could be subject to sanctions and penalties.
But numbers don't bleed. People do. This man, whose identity we are keeping anonymous for his comfort, remembers some creeping shadows when he tried escaping poverty as a 9-year-old. He says a male adult offered support that came with a price, too dire for his innocence.
I felt this sense of regret and remorse for being wooed into doing something that was against my moral ethics. There are some times that when I have a memory of that person, the whole scenario flashes back, and he's somebody I get to see quite often once I'm in town.
He has since received treatment and says he's healed, now married with a child. Soluchef Francis, too, went through his own version of the black hole before help found him. At first, he says, it felt like he was on track with a good job as a supply chain expert. Unknowing to him, grief he never paid attention to came back to haunt him.
I was beginning to lose much more interest in a lot of things. I wasn't eating well. If I wasn't eating, so to speak, I wasn't sleeping, And I still did not understand what was happening, right? Because how then do you wake up and just realize that you don't have interest in the things that you used to have interest in anymore? I did have suicidal thoughts, right? In fact, serious ones. And I remember then a colleague of mine would tell the cab driver, not to stop until he has taken me home.
He spoke out at first, but says he was silenced with friendly banter.
Oga, come, let's go and have some drinks, Joe. You'll be fine. Oga, na woman you need, waiting they worry you. Those kind of responses, right? And then it dawned on me that maybe I was speaking to the wrong people.
When push came to shove, he knew he needed help.
It took me a while, right? Because everything was falling apart. I wasn't productive at work. And then when it began to dawn on me much more that there was a bigger problem was when I realized that life had no meaning to me anymore. So at that point, I sat down one day and cried. And I said, no, who can I speak with?
Toluche is now a certified psychologist helping others with mental disorders. This man and Toluche are living two very different lives, yet their experiences peels back layers on the hidden battles of many Nigerian men. In a culture where mental health disorders are grossly misunderstood, experts cut through the confusion.
When we talk about mental health disorders, we are also literally talking about mental health diseases, mental health conditions that affect the way you think, the way you feel, the way you act, the way you behave. Anxiety disorders, mood disorders where we have the depression, mania, bipolar affective disorder, then substance abuse disorders where we have the, of course, alcohol dependency, tolerance, marijuana abuse.
Suicidal behavior, suicidal attempt is increasingly also very common among men in Nigeria, starting from adolescents into young adults. And that is also a big problem in our society now.
So, what lights the match?
Society is expecting so much from men, and men were not equipped as boys to handle the emotional stress that they expect a man to carry. If a man does not have money, he is restless because society is measuring him on the yardstick of money.
There are so many men right now who were sexually abused as children, who are currently struggling with intimacy in marriage, who are currently struggling with depression, who are currently struggling with anxiety.
When it comes to men experiencing what is synonymous to the postpartum depression, sometimes you read stories of men who ran away when the wives gave birth. It's not because they hate the woman. It's the question of, am I worthy to be a father to this child? Sometimes it's, do I even have the financial capability?
When men are struggling emotionally, what you then see is that they become very aggressive. They become very irritable. They fight everywhere. They withdraw and become very lonely and quiet, and they cut off from everybody.
In a society that sees vulnerability as weakness, experts break down harmful attitudes that make men retreat, sometimes permanently. From the culture of silence,
a man should always be strong. A man should always be dominant. A man should not be soft. He shouldn't be compassionate. He shouldn't be empathic. A man should not cry.
Crying is therapeutic. Crying is not a sign of failure.
Or that if even not to even love, that if you love too much, it shows that you are weak. You are not a man. You are a woman rapper.
to religion.
The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Seek treatment, for Allah has not sent down any disease without sending down its cure." Caring for mental health falls under the preservation of intellect. Seeking therapy or counseling is not a sign of weak faith, but responsible and Islamically valid acts.
A lot of people in the Bible, if you read it very well, you see mental health issues there. When Job was going through his issues, that was a mental health. All the statement was making, you read very well, there are mental health statement that people going through mental stress can make. So it's not necessarily demonic. And it does not mean the person is weak, it does not mean the person is a sinner. We need to address those issues, separate the issues first, and then find a way of joining them together in prayers.
So, what is the one thing average Nigerian men wish they could talk about more openly, but feel like they can't?
Well, I can't share it.
Family pressure weighs men down, seriously. But they can't be talking about it ordinarily. Because as a man, you don't need to divulge so many things outside there.
Mistake of the past that today it's become mistake, and whenever I remember them, I'm always very sad. But so many times I want to discuss with people, friends or family, but I cannot discuss. I decide to hold them back.
As a man, at times when you wish to make love with your woman and your woman decline due to one or two reasons, for me, it's not something I can maybe call a friend of mine or call an elder sister or an elder brother.
Honestly, because my now like this to go back from home to work is a big problem for me.
I'm trying to go from one state to another in pursuit of my means of livelihood, but I couldn't.
We need to know that we are human beings. We need to know that crying is therapeutic. We need to know that we need to be vulnerable enough to share our pains with our friends and with our wives.
Presently, we are trying to engage the House of Assembly, Lagos State House of Assembly, to establish the inaugural Ministry of Men Affairs in Lagos State.
Mental health is submerged into social studies in our curriculum. Our educational curriculum needs to be revamped. So we should start talking about building resilient children.
Law is symbolic of how government feels in terms of the public. Essentially, it's been 2 years since the passage, 2-3 years since the passage of the Mental Health Act, and we still don't have a department. So a lot of actors in the field are working on that to make that happen.
There are professionals, mental health professionals across the country. Every teaching hospital, neuropsychiatric hospitals, federal medical centers, help is available.
This man, Antolushe, may have found the light, but many more are slipping through the cracks, wearing strength like a mask. And with mental health disorders projected to cost the global economy $16 trillion by 2030, the answer should no longer be man up, but speak up. Mercy Frank, Gist Nigeria.
Insightful conversation there. Now, what do you think about this story? Let us know on our X handle at Gist Nigeria TV. We'd like to hear from you.